Hello and welcome to the Undercovers podcast here on a Tuesday evening, 2 days removed uh, from the Bills' victory on Sunday, and we're about 48 hours away now from a really big Week 2 matchup in Miami, Bills at Miami. Another edition of the Bills and Dolphins rivalry. Tonight, we preview the game with Greg Vorse. How are you doing, Greg?
I'm fantastic. Excited for this matchup. Excited to get this Bills season truly going. It kind of feels like, it's like a college football season. It doesn't truly start till you get in the conference play, and now the Bills get to dive into conference play with arguably their biggest rival right now.
Mm-hmm.
Before we
Squish the
jump
fish.
into the rivalry matchup, kind of give the viewers and listeners where they can find your content on a daily basis.
Well, you can look right there at Greg Vorse is probably the best thing, and that's on all my social media handles across the platforms. Doing the stuff for Cover One that they need, doing stuff for Sports Illustrated, and then when basketball season gets here, you can find me doing some stuff for St. Bonaventure. So still, despite not being on TV for a few years now, still keeping the toes in the media swimming pool, if you will.
Always good to keep it in the media swing as much as you can, because covering Bills football is always the best thing at this time of year, and especially as when there's no football season, it kind of gets a little just gets a little boring at times. You just don't know what to do. You just don't know what to do with the summer
What
at
do I do with
times.
my
But
hands?
yeah, what
Yeah,
do you do with them?
exactly. What am I supposed
The
to do with
next
these?
overreaction or the next article to write out. But Greg, let's get into the matchup first. But what were your biggest week 1 takeaways? From a slow start to a really rambunctious finish from the Buffalo Bills.
I think the first thing is that Josh Allen is the league MVP if we decide to pull the plug on the season and crown it right now. I don't see how you don't look at what he did with what was around him, and that's not a knock on the other 10 guys on the field the entire time. But he's, to steal some terms from other people, he's an alien. He's a superhero. I mean, Josh Allen is the term I like to use is that dude, and Josh Allen he's that dude. And it's hard to do the on pace stuff after one game, but the numbers are stupid. It's like 4,600 yards and 64 touchdowns or something wild like that he's currently on pace for. And as you mentioned, the slow start. Well, what stopped the slow start? Josh Allen saying, "All right, you 10 of you guys get on these California shoulders of mine. We're going to go for a ride and we're going to win this game." So I don't see how. Right now, Vegas still has Patrick Mahomes as the number one odds maker to win the MVP. Wherever you want to donate your money to those billionaires out there in Sin City, I don't know how Josh Allen isn't the consensus league MVP as we see it right now.
Well, that's just what everybody in Vegas is always going to say when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. Man's won 2 Super Bowls in a row, and that's what they all want to talk about is Patrick Mahomes. They don't want to see anybody knock him off his perch. You aim at the king, you best not miss. And I don't
Absolutely.
think Josh Allen is going to miss. Not this time.
Mm-mm.
I hope you get as a fan, just as a fan of football, stepping back from the Bills as a fan of football. I would love to see that opportunity in the AFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
How many times in week 1 do you get, one quarterback gets 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns in the same game? I don't. If Josh Allen wasn't the Bills quarterback, I don't think the Bills win this football game. He was the sole reason why the Bills, were able to stay in the football game and was able to come back. Granted, Greg Rousseau had a really good game. He came up with a clutch forced fumble. So that that in itself helped the Bills get back into the game. But like you said, Greg, all 10 men on Josh Allen's shoulders, and he took it. He took it and he got the victory for the Bills. But it came with the cost, though. He's now injured, and he has a glove on his left shoulder, and also came with a Taron Johnson injury as well on the first drive of the Bills game. So how big of a loss is Taron Johnson to the Bills against the Miami's defense? And what do you kind of expect out of an injured Josh Allen on Thursday?
I'll start with the second one there. I'm not worried about I'm not worried. Like, period. The dude is insane. What he's done with his shoulder being destroyed a couple years ago and still making 60-yard passes into buckets. He needs to have, like, I need to see a limb missing before I worry about Josh Allen not being able to play up to very high standards that we're used to out of Josh Allen. I actually looked this up earlier today and tweeted it out. He's currently, counting the playoffs, he's currently on a 98-game streak of being active and starting for the Bills, which I believe was 18th most ever, and is by far the longest active streak right now among quarterbacks. Again, it needs to be catastrophic for him not to be out there. And we all know if you start knocking on wood now, if that happened, the season's, let's move along, because it's not going to be the season we expect. Josh Allen's going to be out there. Josh Allen's going to perform. Josh Allen's probably going to put up 3 or 4 more touchdowns. We saw what he did against what he's always done against Miami. 11-2 overall, 10-2 in the playoffs, like a 110 passer rating. I think it's 30 something touchdowns to 10 turnovers in the series against Miami. I don't get into the fan banter of making the photos of him carrying Tua in a stroller or anything like that I see, I see people doing, or his head photoshopped on a zookeeper's head that's holding a dolphin baby or any of that stuff. But I mean, it's not too outlandish to make those jokes about what Josh Allen has done against the Dolphins. Now, flipping it to the other side, Taron Johnson is enormous. I mean, he's an all-pro slot corner. You don't just replace that. And it happens to be against a team that has Tyreek Hill, who's almost, I think until Worthy came along, you would say he was unequivocally the fastest dude in the league. And that's a foot race I wouldn't mind watching. And then you also have Jalen Waddle. So they're going to have to figure out how to cover those guys. And looking at the snap shares after Johnson went out on Sunday, it's going to be the guys that we expect. It's going to be the 4, Douglas, Benford, Rapp, and Hamlin as your back 4. And it's going to be most likely Cam Lewis, who had, I believe, 90% of the snaps after Taron went out. Counting the entire game, but he took over the snaps after Taron went out, was the one that went in there. And unfortunately for Cam, who I'll be honest, I like Cam. I consider Cam a friend. We bonded back when he was at UB, and I covered him there. I love Cam. I want him to ball out. But the memory that's in everyone's head, if you're a Bills fan, is Justin Jefferson stealing that pass from him. So I understand the trepidation from Bills Mafia, knowing that Cam is most likely the one going in there and taking that probably pretty close to 100% snap share.
Well, I also think we got to remember he was playing, I believe, safety that one play when Jefferson had that catch, right?
Yes.
And speaking of safeties, Greg, what did you think out of Taylor Rapp and Damar Hamlin from week 1?
I think you saw 2 guys that had to settle in. I think you saw 2 guys that had to find how it worked in a game. Preseason is preseason. You're not playing Kyler. You're not playing Marvin Harrison, who was, my goodness, was he held in check. I would have laughed in your face if you told me Marvin Harrison was going to have, 1 catch for 4 yards in his debut. But I think you saw guys that needed to find where it's going, and that's what you're going to need. We, as all of us that watch the Bills constantly over the last 7 years, yes, there were some dings and nicks and missed games from Poyer and Hyde, but holy cow, was Bills Mafia spoiled to get to just at the beginning of every season pencil those 2 in and know that that's what you're getting. Now you need to see what you have out of Rapp and Hamlin. Rapp's definitely an athlete that can handle what he's doing. I liked Damar 2 years ago when he was forced into playing. Obviously before the tragedy struck him at the Bengals game. There are people that didn't love what he was doing. I wrote an article kind of showing what some of the analytics said, and that the numbers were better than just the surface numbers of tackles and tackles for a loss and those things. But I also, Milano's not coming back to patrol that middle, so they're going to need those guys. The nice thing they have, and I'm not sure if you guys plan on, I'll fold forward, is hopefully we saw it on Sunday, the Bills, McDermott, Babbage can get pressure with just that front 4. If Oliver, Daquan Jones, whether it's Von Miller, Adrian Epinesa, and obviously Groot, if whatever 4 of those guys are the ones that are in, especially on obvious passing downs, if those guys can get pressure and can get Tua off his first read and off his mark, that's when that offense falls apart, and that makes coverage that much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, you also got to figure, obviously, different lines and circumstances. But if you're able to get to Kyler 4 times in a game, someone who's very elusive, I think that's a good sign for the game against Miami, because obviously Tua is not not quite as elusive as Kyler is, I'd say.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and on top of that, it's not even just getting
right. You have to
sacks.
defend them differently too, right?
Right. But it's Next Gen Stats puts out what they call defensive line separation, and it's how far players are from the quarterback at the time of the pass or the tackle, meaning a sack, obviously. And Epinesa, Groot, DaQuan Jones, and Ed Oliver were all under the league average for how close they were to Kyler at the time of the pass or the sack, which outside of maybe Allen and Lamar, you're probably putting Kyler at third in that hierarchy of guys that are going to run from that pressure. So to keep those numbers up versus him makes me feel good heading into Thursday against Miami.
We talked a little bit about that yesterday on our main show when we were discussing this game. You know how important Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver was. How important they were in the I believe in the Week 4 game against Miami last year when Miami came to town and we blew the doors off them. So they're going to be super important, to the Bills in this game in general, because you look at the Miami Dolphins injury report. They have a few offensive linemen that are on the injury report, so able to get through that offensive line, to stop one of their 2 remaining running backs on the roster, because you don't know if Mostert or Chan is going to play this game. Both were DNPs today and yesterday. So it's going to be interesting how the Bills O-line the Bills D-line and Miami O-line is going to fare on Thursday on a short week. But kind of going back to, both Bills and Dolphins got off to a slow start on Sunday. What do you think the Bills have to do differently in this game to start off fast against a speedy, Miami Dolphins team?
I'm not sure. If you look at last year's 2 games, they're 2 completely different games. You had the run and hide and seek and get out to that big lead that Buffalo did. And then you had kind of the take the air out of the ball in the last game of the year that ended up, tying both teams at 11-6, and the Bills getting the tiebreaker to seal the 4th straight division title. Again, I'm always going to go back to Josh Allen. Let Josh Allen be Josh Allen. Now, if you look at what Miami did against the Jaguars, both Tanks Bigsby, I think it was like 6.7 yards per carry he averaged against Miami. And then ETN, he only averaged around 4 yards a carry, but got a touchdown, had some nice plays out of the backfield, which you expect. He's almost your Cook to having Tank Bigsby be, whether you want to say it's Ty Johnson, or maybe this is when we see Ray Davis start to, I think he had only 6 or 10 snaps Sunday. This is where maybe Ray Davis can start to come in and get a couple more carries, maybe lighten some of that load off of Josh Allen. I think establishing that run game, truly establishing the run game, one benefits you because you're moving the ball downfield. The Bills were the best team in Week 1 at staying out of third downs. So stay in front of those chains, rack up those first downs, keep the ball out of, you say out of Tua's hand, but keep the ball out of Tyreek and Waddle's hands. I think is really a big one here. I'm not expecting a 40. It was 48-20, I think was the final score. The first time they played last year, I would not expect that, but I would like to see
48-20,
some very methodical drives. Let's see that Joe Brady first 15 scripted plays lead to 14 points. And hey, if it's you're getting touchdowns and you're bending and not breaking, which has kind of been a Sean McDermott staple, and you're holding them to field goals, in the end, your number is going to be bigger.
Absolutely. Connor, you got anything for Greg right now before we head on to the next?
Well, we already asked the Taron Johnson question, and it's funny. I was actually, I'm writing an article for Bills on Sports Illustrated about that right now, about how Coach McDermott was really impressed with the effort that Cam Lewis and Jamarcus Ingram were able to put up in Terran's absence. And it's always nice to see when the next man up mentality has to be used, it's nice to see the players actually embrace it, come in and make plays. If I remember correctly, Jamarcus Ingram was the one that batted the ball away from Greg Dortch, which if Dortch would have caught that, it sets him up with 1st and goal at the 2, which most likely leads to a score that puts Arizona back in the lead and maybe wins them the game. So it's a really nice thing to see that. But as for questions, I know.
Can I jump in there real quick? Can I just jump in there real quick? I'm sorry.
Jump in there, Greg.
One note.
Jump in there, Greg.
I only, when I was in the area, I covered the Bills, Browns, and Steelers, so I saw some of their practices. But being at so many Bills practices, one thing McDermott does so well, you hear CEO a lot for head coaches. They're a CEO. They're hands off. They let their OC. McDermott is in there when they're practicing, and he's not just in there when it's the ones. He's in there when it's the 2s. He's in there when it's the 3s. And this is when that pays off. You never want to assume a Taron Johnson injury, but you need to be ready for a Taron Johnson injury. And McDermott being so hands-on in every little rep, maybe it's maniacal, but who would we say is the most maniacal coach we ever saw in football? Bill Belichick. What does he have? 6 Super Bowl rings. There's a reason. I think that this is where, yes, there's a gap between Taron Johnson, second-team All-Pro, Cam Lewis, UDFA out of UB, but that gap can be bridged a little with the way that McDermott is just so focused and hands-on in practice. So I just wanted to get that in there. It popped into my head while you were speaking there, Connor.
Mm-hmm. And hey, it's a very good point because you're definitely right, Greg. There's a huge gap, Lewis. But one thing that I was thinking about this earlier today, actually. Yet again, while I was trying to figure out more article ideas for both Buffalo Down and Buffalo Bills on SI, the thing we already mentioned that getting pressure with just the 4 on the front is going to be one of the biggest keys to win this game. I definitely think so as well. But I was also talking to some other people about this. What do you think you would expect this game from Dalton Kincaid? Because in the Cardinals game, they had at least 3-4 defenders on him at all times. They tried to take him out of the playbook, which worked really well for the Bills offense, in my opinion, because yeah, sure, you take out, your primary target, but you're opening up the rest of the team to get loose, like Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, even the running game with James Cook and I believe Ty Johnson and Ray Davis. I know they both got carries. I don't remember who got more. I think Ty Johnson got more against the Cardinals.
I believe that's correct. Yep.
But still, I feel like the Dolphins won't be able to cover Kincaid in the same way. So I just wondered what your thought was on that. Like, do you think this is going to be the Kincaid show, or do you think they're going to cover him well enough to where we're going to see someone else break out again?
I think every year there's like a quote that sticks out from camp, whatever that might be. And this year, I love the idea that everyone might not eat, but everyone's going to have a plate. Everyone's going to have a plate. And we truly saw that on Sunday with 10 different guys having, targets, 9 different guys catching passes. We've joked, and some people, have pushed it too far, but you want Kincaid to be your Kelsey. Well, that gravity that I call it, where they pull in the defenders, is what Kelsey does that isn't necessarily statted. You don't find those things in the box score. But when you watch the all 22, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of eyes on Travis Kelsey every play. Well, if you go to my Twitter feed, you'll see some screen grabs. And if you follow some of my cohorts at Cover One, Eric and Ant do insane breakdowns of the all 22, you're going to see 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of eyes on Kincaid. It was clear that the Cardinals defense was keying on, we're stopping Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid is not beating us. And the more they did it, the more the separation numbers from Shakira, as you brought up, from Mac Hollins started to grow. Having that up, I'm a 4 and 5 screen guy at the same time while I'm watching Bills games. My screen I'm watching it on, having the NFL stats and info page right in front of me, having next gen stats on a tablet. Like it's nerd central in my on my lap when I'm watching these games. And you just kept seeing that separation number grow and grow and grow. At the same time, Kincaid's was shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Well, they go hand in hand. As you're starting to give more eyes to Kincaid, Shakir's open more, Coleman's open more, James Cook is open more. And guess what started happening? Touchdowns started happening. Mm-hmm. So if Miami wants to go into Thursday night and devote Poyer and Ramsey to Kincaid, God bless you.
Oh, yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Have fun. Like, that's
have
fine.
fun trying, because you're going to get burnt by Shakir.
Yeah. I don't care about my fantasy team. I want to see, like, and that's the thing is I will be dead on. I have over 100 fantasy teams between Dynasty and Redraft. I'm a nerd when it comes to fantasy football. I want to see, and I'm not a Bills fan. I've told everybody. I say it all the time. I'm a Raiders fan. I want the Bills to win a Super Bowl more than I want the Raiders to win a Super Bowl. I want all of you guys that love the Bills. I know what it means to you. My Michigan Wolverines just won it. I get chills right now talking about it. Thinking about sitting upstairs with my daughter watching them win the national championship. I want all you guys to get that in a Super Bowl with the Bills. If that means Dalton Kincaid doesn't do anything for my fantasy teams because he's getting triple teamed, God bless. Mm-hmm. Let the other guys eat. Again, everybody has a plate. That was a crazy roundabout way to try to answer your question, but that's how my brain works.
Mine works similarly. Mine works similarly, Greg. You ask me a simple question, and I'm going to give you a complicated answer. So I love it. I mean, that's
just take the answer and just.
I got another question for you, Greg.
Yeah, fire away.
Oh my goodness.
I know a lot of people were concerned with Samuel's snap count. I know he had the turf toe. But looking at the Cardinals last year, they were, if not the worst defense, one of the worst run defenses. Do you think that was partly game planned in mind as far as his snap count? Just they wanted bigger bodied receivers on the field just for blocking purposes, or is he still just? Is that you still think that injury is affecting him?
I would love to be at practice. What's today? Today's Tuesday, so they're traveling tomorrow. So today would have been the practice,
right?
Actually, to see everything, to see what he was doing, and I have some good friends that covered the Bills beat, and I don't remember seeing on social media. Everybody was focused on Josh Allen's hand. It's the first thing we talked about. It makes perfect sense. I have the NFL's game stats and informations page up in front of me, so just pardon me not looking at the screen. But if you go down, you have Coleman 73% snap share, Matt Collins 58%, Shakir 53%, Samuel 27%, Scantling 21%. I hate to keep going back to the same cliche, but they gave everybody a darn plate, and it was working
for sure.
And it was working. Now I think if could have been one of those things where, okay, we now feel comfortable. We don't have to keep forcing him. But that's the nice thing right now where you're not forcing Stephon Diggs. You're not going to have we seen a quote from Dalton Kincaid upset he only had 5 targets?
Nope.
No.
He was actually happy that he wasn't really getting targets.
Like, that again, as much as I'll use a collective we for Western New York. As much as we hate Travis Kelce, do you ever hear him, pardon my language, bitching about his looks? Nope, we won. Look at my rings, and that's what it needs to be, and that's where Samuel. And the other thing that you can't measure is how good Samuel has to feel finally being on a good team.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, I always joke with people. I played for a high school baseball team. My high school baseball jersey is just out of the picture. That went 0-22. My senior year.
Oh wow!
Northeast High School, who we play, had to forfeit 2 games, so technically it says 2-20. But they had 2 foreign exchange students that were like 20-something years old on their roster. And then I got to Teal College, and we were awesome, PAC champs. It was like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing, and that's how Samuel has to feel right now. So I think to get back to your point, whether it was still nagging injuries, I don't know. But I do think there's a lot to it that he's not needed to be forced, if you will. this game comes down to 27-24, Miami leading late in the fourth, and Samuel, we need you to go out there and bust that sluggo, I think he's doing it.
With limited snaps, to Kincaid, maybe, there's 5 wide receivers. It kind of opens up a gap. We talked a little bit about this last week and yesterday. It opens up a gap for rookie Keon Coleman, who led all Bills receivers in targets, receptions, yards, and he didn't have a touchdown, but maybe he's looking for his first touchdown against Jalen Ramsey, who's the projected, maybe the expected matchup for Keon Coleman on Thursday. What should we expect out of Keon in his second game as he comes off a really great week 1 performance?
If they again, that's the fun part about where this offense looks like it's trending, is that, okay, you want to take Keon Coleman away? Is he truly the Bills' number 1 right now? Because in my opinion, that's going to be Khalil Shakir all season. He's going to be their number 1 when it comes to target share and routes run and those different things. But you're not going to waste, for lack of a better term, Ramsey coming down into the slot, most likely. They're not going to have him following Khalil around. So you want to go out there and take that away? Awesome. Maybe that is where Curtis Samuel steps up. But I still do. As a Michigan guy, I originally hated Keon Coleman because he was making plays for Michigan State. Then he went to Florida State, and I became a huge Keon Coleman fan because I could enjoy the plays he was making. You still need to give a guy like that, even if Ramsey's on him, give him a couple chances. Let your dog eat. Let that guy that's that monster with the amazing hands, still give him a couple opportunities. But if he draws that assignment and it is Ramsey following him around the field, don't go to your other guys. If Kincaid's in the seam getting double teamed, Ramsey's taken away out wide, James Cook is going to feast and Khalil is going to feast. Let those dogs eat. We'll say it for a third time. They have plates too.
You know how you were saying, as a Michigan fan, I hated Keon Coleman because he went, Ben, you'll probably agree with me as a Florida State fan yourself. You know how weird it's going to feel if I have to watch Keon Coleman being guarded by Jalen Ramsey? I'm going to be sitting there going, wait, what do I do now? Am I supposed to do a little a small happy yay if Jalen Ramsey does anything?
No,
because he
plays on Miami. Come on.
Hey, now it's FSU. That's the only reason I said anything. So it's that's a very interesting scenario to put up, especially if that assignment is.
No, Bills fans don't like Jalen Ramsey because of his comments.
Well, yeah, because of the comments about Josh Allen, of course. Call me trash again. Watch him absolutely destroy your franchise, literally. In this case.
The burnt toast memes will be in drafts. Put them in your drafts now to have them ready for if Coleman has a Moss moment over Ramsey.
Yep.
Oh, 100%.
FSU's Twitter admin is going to be very confused on who to cheer for.
All right, I have 2 more things for you, Greg, tonight before we let you go tonight. We discussed this at large yesterday, before we signed off. Is the Bills' special teams? Even though Tyler Bass went 2 for 2 on kicks, he didn't kick it through the end zone, which allowed DJ Dallas to return it for a touchdown. There you go. I got the words out.
English.
And then Sam Martin just had 2 weird punts. Yes, there was wind, at Highmark Stadium on Sunday, but it was still a very inconsistent special teams unit. Do you feel like this is going to be a concern throughout the season, and maybe concern with all the speed guys with Miami on kickoffs?
I think that yes is the short answer. Since I'm not good at giving short answers, yes is the short answer. To extrapolate beyond yes, unfortunately, when it comes especially to Bass, is you're now waiting on him the same way Dolphins fans are waiting on Tua and Mike McDaniel, and the same way Dallas fans are waiting on Dak to do it in the playoffs. Because Bass looked fantastic until the playoffs, where I believe it was he missed 2 of his final 5 field goals, had that huge miss against Philly. It's going to be, what are you going to do in late January, hopefully into February? And I don't blame Bills fans for feeling that way. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if he gets to the playoffs again, it's going to be hold your breath time, and hopefully he puts it between those big yellow pieces of steel. As far as the kick, I'm not going to judge too harshly on kickoffs yet. We're 1 week into it. I did like some of the stuff we saw the Bills do when they received the ball. The one long one that got brought back, I was watching the All-22 on that, and they actually ran the other 10 players almost like they were linemen pulling, like they were guards pulling to the right, and ended up being able to help blow up that play and get wherever they got into the 40, I believe it was. So I really enjoyed seeing a little bit of creativity there, but I think we're going to need to see that evolve. Another cool thing about McDermott is he likes to, again, be hands-on, but that's going to be yours and yours. We'll see special teams. If you go back to Dick Duran, who would say special teams is 1/3 of the game, just like offense and defense are each 1/3. That's the Bills' worst third. I don't think anyone's going to argue right now that's
sure.
their worst third. But going down the line fast, we need to wait until we see it in the playoffs, because I expect them to be pretty fine through the regular season. But when it's that, your balloon knot starts to pucker a little bit in the playoff game, are you going to come through? I still would like the coverage, as you mentioned, the coverage to be better on the new kickoff rule, but I'm going to, I want to wait until week 3, 4, 5 and go, okay, they figured it out. They got it. The cool thing is, one of my favorite things, when I use the word coach, I use it very loosely because I just coach my kids, but it's fun to have coaching moments in wins. It's way more fun to have stuff to yell at your players about in wins than it is to have to yell at your players in losses. And there, as you mentioned, there's plenty for McDermott to pick apart in a win. So it still feels pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. As someone who did competitive sports for a very long time, that's very true. You would much rather be getting yelled at, for a win, because at least you have something that you can look back on and be like, okay, we still won. How can I improve? Versus we got absolutely slammed and you absolutely just were awful.
Or what can actually even be worse is you're the Saints and you just kick the teeth in of the Panthers, and you're like, well, we're not even sure if we're good. Are they that bad? Or was it like? But you also, like, the tape's not gonna show you what you want to see. So there is a little bit of, like, it's actually kind of nice to win ugly, because then you can go, well, let's start getting prettier. There's stuff to put makeup on already. If you start out as Margot Robbie and Charlize Theron, there's not much makeup's going to do for you.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, maybe mine was competitiveness in motorsports. I mean, same deal. It's as much of a competitive team sport as any stick and ball sport, with the pit crews and the driver and the crew chief. So at the end of the day, it's all full circle, But I definitely agree with the Saints bit, especially because who knows what they are right now.
Right.
Biggest wild card. Anybody that plays the Panthers at this point. Are we that good, or are they that bad? But
they're that bad.
They're definitely that bad. Like, definitely.
One last thing
bad.
for you, Greg, tonight is Oh, sorry, Ken. I did not mean to cut you off
I said,
all,
Adam Thielen, you are a Bill.
All right. Last thing for you, Greg. A player to watch. Who's somebody that we have to keep an eye on Thursday night as we're watching Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit call a football game?
I would like to see James Cook really, really go. I'll give you one on both sides. I'd like to see James Cook go out there and cook. Seeing what ETN and what Bigsby did Knowing that there are receivers, we talked about it. I'll say the plate line for the fourth time. There's so much that you have to focus on. I would like to see James Cook get a little bit loose in this game. It looked like it's out there to happen when you look at the Miami's first game against the Jaguars and what that duo was able to do. And I don't see why Cook and ETN aren't kind of on the same plane when it comes to what you should expect from them. And Cook is significantly better than Bigsby, in my opinion. So I'd like to see Cook go out there, establish that run, find him on some Texas routes, find him on some screens, find him, on some bubbles out of the backfield, get him involved, take some of that load off of Allen, if maybe the hand is worse than we expect, and really get James Cook established in the run game. And on the other side, if Group didn't start stealing double teams from what he did on Sunday, I don't know when teams are going to realize you might want to start chipping. And if the Dolphins are indeed back to Jeff Wilson and rookie Jalen Wright in the backfield, if that's what you're going to do is only have your left or right tackle on Rousseau and then chip with one of those guys or a tight end, he's going to eat. But then move in, I would like to see Ed Oliver, really have a day. I think they're going to be left where they're not able to double him, and it's going to be Ed Oliver getting a lot of one-on-ones, and collapsing that pocket on Tua is huge. So if Ed Oliver can, what was he, 8th pick, 9th pick overall back a few years ago, live up to that 5-star recruit that he was for the Houston Cougars coming out of high school and be that top 10 pick, those two guys. If you're doing a show next week and you're talking about how Cook had a good game and Oliver had a good game, the Bills won by double digits.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, always want to beat your opponents by more than one score, just to it makes it feel good. And the Bills can't lose by more than one score in the regular season as that streak continues. Again, Greg, thank you so much for joining us and giving us almost 40 minutes of your time today. I know I told you 30, but it ended up being 40.
It's all
but
good.
we love having guests on, and we appreciate you coming on, and great things to come for you and great things to come for us. Thank you again. And, tell the viewers where they can find you one more time.
Again, doing, as Connor was saying, he's doing the stuff for Bills SI. That's Bills_SI. All the weekly stories that I was doing for Cover One are now getting put on there. So every week I'll have my 5 storylines to look out for, 5 matchups to look out for, which I just gave 2 of them away from my notes that I was taking today. And then every week I do a fun stats piece for there. My normal nonsense whenever Greg or Aaron or those guys need me to fill in over on Cover One. I like to joke with them that I'm Mariano Rivera coming out of the bullpen, just pull the string and watch me talk, because God blessed me with decent hair and the ability to talk and not much else. I have a beautiful wife and amazing kids, but as far as this is concerned, and on Twitter at Greg Vorse, I like to have fun on there. I like to interact. And to steal a line from my buddy Bruce, I like to pineapple people that won't stop being idiots. So we'll have fun. Come join us.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
All right. That was the exit for this Leaf Studio is on the bottom. Okay. That was Greg Vorse of Cover One and Sports Illustrated giving us about 40 minutes of his great time.
Yeah, he had some great insight. So
that's my literal coworker over at Bills on SI. Literally, he might not be part of actual. Yeah, he's part of SI as a whole. I don't remember if it was. I don't know if it was Bills on SI, but hey, that's a pretty cool thing, when that's a coworker. That's awesome. But,
right,
and
very cool. Sorry, go ahead, Paul. You had something?
Yeah, I did. Before we get into game picks here, because we got game picks coming up. Me and Connor will be doing Connor's takes tomorrow, so we'll give our players to watch tomorrow. What is your player to watch?
Wait, mine or Ben's?
Oh, Ben.
Oh,
me and you will be doing ours tomorrow.
I still gotta think of mine, so I'll post it on the the account on
There you go.
on Twitter prior to the game. Let's do our game picks now, though. I'm ready for those.
Yeah, we got
All right.
some.
So what's
this
the
is
record
gonna be a
looking
good one
like?
right here.
Oh, we're all 3 and 2.
Everyone's
We're all tied. We're all
everyone's
3 and
3
2.
and 2.
Okay.
You guys thought you guys were going to get an early advantage. It was noted. It was written in notes that you guys were taking early advantage, and we all end up just one game over 500.
So what
And I
was the
realized we only did
games
5
that we
games last
all?
week.
What were the games we got wrong?
The games that we got, we all picked. Oh, actually, I have it. Don't worry. When in doubt, go to the notes.
Always
When in
prepared.
doubt, go to the. Oh, let's see. I think the games that you guys got
Oh,
wrong.
I know I picked the Packers. I definitely got
Packers,
that wrong.
yes, we all picked the
Oh,
Packers.
Packers and Rams. Packers and Rams.
Packers and Rams.
I was
Yep.
a little too
Ouch.
confident in the Rams. All right. So what's are
Yeah.
we starting off? Where are we starting
Yeah.
off this week?
This week we're starting off because for superstition wise, we don't pick Bills games, so we can't pick the Thursday night game. So we'll go right
Nope.
into the Sunday
We're not-
slate.
Even
We're
though the
and
Bills are
that
gonna
is
win.
that is Detroit at
Shut
Tampa
it.
Bay at
Shut
Detroit.
it, Ben.
I'm picking Detroit.
Oh.
I know Connor's probably gonna pick the Bucks. His
I'm just
Florida
gonna let
man
Paul go because I got to think about this. Yeah, I got to think about this. I really do. Paul, you go ahead and take it away. Make your pick because of.
Ben has the Bucks. I'm going Detroit.
No, I
No,
had
Ben
the
had the
Lions.
Lions.
I had
Yeah,
the
Oh,
Lions.
you did have the Lions. Sorry, my bad.
I had the Lions.
Yeah,
Yes.
what are you
Poor
doing?
listening skills over here.
Yes.
I'll
Andy,
take the Lions as
apparently.
well in this game.
Okay. Honestly, as much as I really want to say it, because everybody knows I'm the Floridian here, and I really, really would love to see the Buccaneers get revenge on the Lions for the divisional round game, I can't see it happening. As much
I
as
think it'll be a
Baker
good
is,
game.
it'll be a great game. I think it'll
It
be just
should be
like
a
what we saw in the
shootout.
playoffs.
Yeah.
But I still think Detroit's going to win that one too. So give me the Lions. As much as I hate to say it, I'd rather see the Bucks win, but I'm taking the Lions.
That means the Bucks win because we all picked the Lions.
I
Right?
hope I hope that's the jinx right there. You said it, Paul. I hope that happens.
All right,
Alright.
Anthony Richardson gets his first road test in a long time as he heads to Green Bay in Lambeau Field without Jordan Love. We'll see who is at quarterback for the Packers
Oh,
on
God.
I think
Sunday.
it's Malik Willis, and
Oh.
without Jordan Love, they don't have a chance. I know Paul's probably gonna try to come up with a rationale to pick the Packers because he's a secret Packers fan over there. But I got the Colts in this one.
Yeah, that's just it. Because if you have to start Malik Willis at quarterback, I'm sorry, Green Bay is cooked. I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts to win that game. As much as I would rather. This is not looking good for my Jacksonville Jaguars AFC South champions agenda to see both the Colts and Texans go 2-0, while Jags may potentially
No,
be
the Colts will
1-1 or
start
0-2.
1-1. The Colts will start 1-1. They lost to the Texans.
Oh yeah, duh. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's hoping that the Packers can find some kind of magic in Malik Willis that nobody knew that he had. Maybe they could use that special quarterback whisperer talent, breathe some of that into Malik Willis's ear, make him into this Hall of Famer that nobody knew about. But I still think the Colts win. If this is the Adonai Mitchell breakout game, I'd love that. Please give me the Adonai Mitchell breakout game. My fantasy teams will love it.
As much as I would love to clamor the Green Bay Packers in this game, make some sort of way that the Packers are somehow going to win, I can't because I don't know who Malik Willis is at quarterback because he hasn't started an NFL game outside of some preseason games. And how the Colts looked like last week, and AR5 throwing dots all over the field. Does he do that against a decent, or a really good, Green Bay secondary? Maybe, but Green Bay secondary didn't look too good against, the Eagles in Sao Paulo. I'm going to go and take the Colts. And this game, just like the first game that we picked, could have been a shootout, but I think the Colts probably end up winning by like 2-3 scores because you don't know who's at quarterback.
All right,
All right.
what's our next game?
All right, the third game that we're picking today is the Titans home opener, as they will host the Jets and Aaron Rodgers at Nissan Stadium. Does Will Levis have a bounce back game, or does Aaron Rodgers look statistically close to Zach Wilson again?
I think the Jets win this one. I think it's still a close game. I think the Titans defense is underrated, as we saw last week, and I think the Bears have a good defense, but I do think the Jets are the better team here.
Paul?
Connor, you want me to go?
Yeah.
All right, because I feel like I know where you're gonna go, Connor. I think I'm
Oh,
gonna
do
go the
you?
opposite way. I'm going Titans. I think
Oh,
this is a sneaky good game where one person's watching one game on CBS and the other watching Fox, but then here comes the touchdown alert on Red Zone, and it's the Tennessee Titans going up a score against the New York Jets. And I think it's going to be a low scoring type of game, and that favors, to be honest, I think that favors the Tennessee Titans, in a low scoring game. So
Even though the
if it's
Jets are
low
more of a
scoring,
defensive team, that's interesting.
very,
I think
very.
because Will Levis isn't the type of quarterback that can go toe to toe, with a high scoring game. So you keep it close for Will Levis. He has a chance to, come up
You
clutch
should
in the
look
late
at
going.
Aaron Rodgers' record though. Once his defense allows 20 or less, like it's pretty good. What about you, Connor? Who do you take?
Well, this is what we call the epitome of a trash bowl, or what I really should say, this is the epitome of the tank bowl. I feel like both of these teams are going to are going to be at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the AFC standings, and probably both of them. I don't know if the Jets will really be in position for a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, but I'm pretty confident the Titans will be. So in the battle of losers, I'm taking the Jets, but that's only because Will Levis is not him. Aaron Rodgers at least is something, and at least they have Brees Hall.
And Garrett
Outside of
Wilson.
Yes, and Garrett Wilson, but outside of Tyjae Spears and
Tony Pollard.
oh, I'm not counting that.
Okay. Interesting.
Basically, yes.
So you think
I'm
Spears
taking
is
the
better
Jets.
than Pollard?
I
Okay.
don't. I mean, I don't really have too much of an opinion either way on
No,
both
that's
of them. I
fair.
think
What's
they're
our
about.
next?
I
What do we
mean,
got? Two more?
realistically,
We
We
got
got
two
yeah.
three
more
more.
games? Three more?
Three more.
Okay,
No,
so
it
we're
was
doing
supposed
six.
yeah, it's pick six. That's the segment, and I miscounted last week because my math was
Okay.
off. We only did 5. So the next
All right.
game is in the 425 window. Is Rams at Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals.
I give the edge to the Rams just because of their defense. I think is slightly better. We saw what Arizona's defense looked like last week. I think the Rams can run on them. And I think they'll be able to get to Kyler like the Bills were. So give me LA.
All right. Yeah. As much as the Arizona Cardinals, I think, are definitely going to be an improved team over the last few seasons. I'm still taking the Rams. It just seems like they are overall going to be the better team. I know,
Right.
it came down to overtime and the defense just kind of faded, but I still think that the Rams are the better team, and I think they should still win the game. So I'm also going to take the Rams.
I'm going to take the Rams too. I think they are the better team. They kept the game close, and they just unfortunately lost the coin toss to the Lions, and their defense had to stay out as long as end of the game into the overtime. So it just the gas defense and the Lions took advantage. I think the Rams bounce back in week 2 and get a W over the Arizona Cardinals. The next game is probably the most entertaining game on the Sunday slate. It's 4:25 in the CBS national window. It's Joe Burrow going back to Arrowhead Stadium to face Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, with most likely Taylor Swift in attendance again. Who do we got? Who wins? Does Joe Burrow continue to own Burrowhead, or is he
What?
unable to keep his vacancy there?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna go first. Unless Ben has
Go for it.
does Ben have a quip for this?
I'm
You know what?
sorry. If you lose to the New England Patriots,
Okay, yep.
I'm not taking you very seriously. I know it's week 1, anything happens. Cincinnati typically starts slower as a team. And they do usually play Kansas City tough though. That being said, I'm sorry. If you lose to New England, I don't think you can, brush that off and go into Kansas City and beat them. I could be wrong, but I got the Chiefs here.
I mean, okay, so you know what? We're going to start off like this. First of all, can they both lose? Can we just watch these teams tie and give the world a sense of hilarity? But no, I still think, week 1 is always strange, right? You see these weird losses like the Bengals lost to the Patriots. Jamar Chase got virtually nowhere. And honestly, I think now they'll bounce back. We're about to find out who the Bengals really are. So I'm taking them. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals here. Joe Burrow's going to get back on track. The Burrow Chase connection is going to light it up in Arrowhead.
Chase played on Sunday. They were at home, but I don't know. Paul,
Yeah, well,
are you buying the Cincinnati Kool-Aid that Connor's apparently drinking right now?
yeah, I'm gonna drink it.
I'm not buying it. You only score 16 points against,
Yeah.
even though, give it granted, it was a tough New England defense.
Here's the thing, too. I picked the Bengals to win the division a couple weeks ago.
did.
I will totally say that's looking like one of my worst picks right now. Straight up, the Bengals. I think that is looking like an L right now. We got one more game, right?
Oh, I didn't even
First
choose the
6?
game. I didn't even choose the winner. But
Oh,
yes,
sorry. My bad.
essentially, yes. Even though I'm not buying the Kool-Aid that Connor's
I'm gonna
drinking
drink it.
right now,
I'm gonna drink it.
Kansas City is the better team. They showed it week 1. Their defense is really good. Their secondary is good. And if the Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow couldn't get going against a really good secondary of Christian Gonzalez, I can't see it against Trent McDuffie and the rest of the Kansas City defense. I can't see it. It's probably going to be low scoring, one score, and it goes to the end. But Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and that offense and defense get the win. At Arrowhead. They're home. They have the charm of Taylor Swift. As the NFL likes it. And as it continues to happen, that's what it's going to be. But, the Chiefs are legitimately the better team. We'll pick the Monday night game on Monday, but that concludes our Pick 6 segment.
Man, I just sound like the biggest hater right now. Everybody watching that back is like, oh, this dude's just a hater.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a surprise pick last year and it worked. So
yeah,
maybe the charm's with you.
That's where it's going.
Could be
with this
right.
one, so we're gonna find out.
Tune in to Connor's takes tomorrow. Thank you again to Greg for coming on. And let's beat Miami on Thursday. Go Bills.
There you go.
Please.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.